You know,
Today we're going to be starting siman Tafai and Dalid. It's a very short siman in the middle of the halachas of the seder. Siman Tafai and Dalid deals with the halachas of how many brachos we recite on the cups of wine that we drink during the seder. We know that anytime we consume any food or drink, we recite a bracha before, and if we have the proper amount, then we recite a bracha after. It's called a bracha rishonya and a bracha acharina. Question is, how many brachos do we say at the Seder on these four cups and why? And what's the status with their al hagefen, their bracha achrona afterwards? Title of the siman is Al Kol Sheni Mevarchim. On the second cup, we don't say a bracha. Ubo Sevechad. But not so fast. It's not so simple that we don't say a bracha. That's only according to some. Shulchan Aruch says, Shoyse Kol Sheni Ve'ein Mevarech Olav. That a person drinks the second cup but does not recite a bracha on this coast. Does not. Loy bracha rishoina, loy bracha acharina. According to the Shulchan Aruch, coming from many Rishonim, the Torah quotes them at length. You do not recite a bracha before nor a bracha after. She'ein mevarchin boyer piagofin ki'im al kol shel kiddush ve'al kol shel birchas hamazon. Because you only make the bracha boyer piagofin on the cup that's going to be used for Kiddush, aka the first cup of wine that a person's going to drink on the night of the Seder. And then the third cup. That is the kos, that is the cup that we recite the bracha Brei Pagafen on after benching. Ve'im mevarchin ala gefen ki im acher koisrevi. And says the Shulchan Aruch that you only say the bracha of ala gefen, which is the bracha achrona, the bracha that we recite after we drink, ala michyo, ala gefen, we only recite that bracha after the fourth and final cup. No logic is explained for this ruling, but this is the ruling of the Shulchan Aruch. You only recite a bracha on the first and third cup beforehand, and afterwards, the bracha afterwards is only on the last course. Says the Ramah, "V'haminog bein Ashkenazim levorach bracha rishoino al kol kois v'kois." But the minog, the custom among Ashkenazim, is to recite the bracha before drinking the wine on every single cup. Aval bracha achronim avarchin acher acher levad. But the bracha that comes after, that should only be made on the last cup, after the last cup. The Ramah agrees to the ruling of the Shulchan Aruch in that regard. Everyone agrees regarding the bracha afterwards. V'chein das roi v'geonim, and this is the opinion of most of the geonim. Obvious questions are, what is this argument based on? Either you're only making the bracha on the first and third before, or you do it on all of them. The Mishnah Berurah asked a question. And even though the rabbis enacted that there are going to be four cups and each one is independently its own mitzvah, consequently, seemingly, a bracha should be recited on every single cup, not just the first and the third. Mikol makom, nevertheless, kevan deleka hesech hadas mishtiyah, since there is no diversion of the mind from the drinking, aka when you said a bracha on the first coast, the first cup that you're drinking, you had in mind, you knew that you're going to be having a second one shortly thereafter. So since there was no diversion of the mind, when you recited the bracha beforehand on the first cup, you knew that you were going to be drinking another cup in the near future. That's why one would not need to recite a bracha, a new bracha on every single cup. That's why you wouldn't need to. You're covered. You didn't have hesach hadas. There was no diversion of the mind. You knew you were going to be drinking it shortly thereafter. And therefore, that's why you would not need a new bracha according to the Shulchan Aruch on the second cup. And according to the Shulchan Aruch, the fourth cup that you're going to drink is exempted from the bracha that you recited on the third cup. You are covered. It would cover you. However, you only make the alagefen, the bracha afterwards on the last cup. This is actually this Mishnah Berurah and the next one is, I had a little difficulty with it. It's a little tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's fine. And even though the benching is a completion, and it's considered a full-fledged interruption regarding the first bracha of the third cup. What the Mishnah Berurah over here is asking is, I don't understand. We said that you only say a bracha achrona after the third cup, after the fourth cup. Why? I mean, what about benching? Benching doesn't cover the first two cups that you need to say bracha achrona on? I'm not mistaken, that's the explanation of this, what's called the implicit question. Is that opening? Oh, here it is. It says over here. Oswald Mishnah Berurah says, even though benching is a completion from the original eating and drinking that preceded it, and it's a full-fledged interruption, aka the third cup of wine would not be exempted from the initial bracha that you recited on the first cup, due to the fact that benching in between constitutes as a halachic interruption. So slow. As we said above, comes the Mishnah Berurah and says, nevertheless, Mikol Makoim le'inyan bracha achroina loy mafsid midi. Regarding the bracha that's supposed to come after, you didn't lose anything. She'ein hesach hadas mechayiv levarach teikef bracha achroina. Because the diversion of the mind would not obligate one to recite immediately a bracha afterwards. You are able to wait until you drink all of the cups, and then you would be exempted from the bracha that you say after all of the cups together. Like I said, it's a tricky Mishnah Berurah to learn. What he's saying over here is regarding benching. Yeah, it's a tricky Mishnah Berurah. It's hard to understand this Mishnah Berurah. With this, it seems like it's saying is that benching wouldn't close off your second cup that you drank, and you could still even drink the first one, the third one. That's what it seems like. In footnote Dala, they question this because there's a large time lapse in between, and you lost the bracha that you have to say after, anyways, from that. But this is a very tricky Mishnah Berurah. I had to reread this many times. Either way, the Ramah says the custom among Ashkenazim is to recite the bracha on every single cup. Dalit in the Mishnah Berurah, the Misha Hischil b'Haggadah Osir Lishtos. The halach is once you begin the Haggadah, you're not allowed to drink. You're not allowed to drink more wine than was ready in your cup that you had. And we're going to learn about that when we learn that proper siman. Just a few simanim before this. You're not allowed to drink. And that's why it's considered an interruption, and you're required to make a bracha on the second cup. In other words, since you're not allowed to drink anymore, if you are going to drink more, you need a new bracha. That's one reason why you need to make a new bracha on every single cup, or at least a second. Even if you want to say it's not an interruption regarding the bracha. The siman kuf ayin ches vav, as it says over there, mikol makom kevan dekol chada v'chada havi mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. Nevertheless, since each cup of wine is an independent mitzvah, yishavarach al kol kois bracha b'fnei atzmo. You need to recite a bracha on each cup independently. So you have two reasons why we make a bracha on every single cup. Number one, interruption. Number two, each one is its own mitzvah. Even if you want to say that the prohibition of drinking isn't an interruption regarding brachas, brings a proof from davening in the middle meal. Nevertheless, there's another reason why you need to make a new bracha, and that's because each kos is an independent mitzvah. Mishnah Berurah concludes and says, "Aval bracha," but the bracha achroina, you only make the bracha at the end. After all of the cups, you only make that bracha achrona. The Mishnah Berurah continues on the next page. The ein hesech hadas koiveya bracha lachayriv. A diversion of the mind would not establish a bracha after. That's the Mishnah Berurah. In other words,
meaning what? Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about this. The Ramah said that the bracha afterwards, you only say one after and it covers everything, right? So he's saying over here. What's the reason for that? Because diversion of the mind would not establish another bracha. In other words, this is why just one bracha achrona will cover everything. You don't need to make a bracha after each after every single one, right? Exactly.
Whereas Hesach Hadas would be a problem by bracha Rishon.
Correct.
Saying
Correct.
The bracha achrona would not.
Correct. So
there is a time limit, no? I mean, we do have that time
right.
limit.
That was what we saw in the footnote. And also, if it's after the time that it's going to get digested, so then you potentially lose it. Right. So, this is a short siman. A lot of people don't realize exactly why there would be a difference between Sephardim and Ashkenazim regarding the brachos on the cups of wine that we're going to have at the seder. These are going to be the reasons why there would be differences. I mean, the Pesach Chuvas is relatively short on this siman. He just comes along and he says, it says, if a person is making an explicit condition at the time when he recites the first bracha on the first cup of wine, that he's not intending, he's only intending that the bracha is going to cover just this cup and nothing else. Even if a person doesn't do that, if he did it, it's good to have that intention. In general, it's good that you should have that.
So I guess we don't have the, bracha tzricha problem.
Right. He said it's good to have that intention explicitly beforehand. That would get rid of a problem of bracha tzricha for sure. And
does that have anything to do with like the talis at Yom Kippur you have in mind specifically that it's just for
similar idea? Yeah, similar idea. Similar idea. So that's basically the siman. Pretty much straightforward. Any questions, comments on the siman?
Yeah, sometimes it takes more than 72 minutes to go from your coach Shlishi to if you're singing too much over there by Alel and Nirtza.
Yeah.
I should have I should have got it in front of me.
Most of the time,
Right.
I'm could
You
put
could
you
also
back
you could
there.
also take a little sip and then remember the clock
That's true.
starts
That's
again.
true. I take a little sip of
Uh,
water. And
yeah, yeah. It's, over there.